Hi everybody, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to our reading. I wanted to say that as I was preparing this reading, several of the decks just offered me, as I was shuffling, they just offered me a card or two, and they were all on a really lovely theme of, there was spring twice, there was a rabbit, there was incense, but there was a lot of like spring in them and cheerfulness, and I don't know, it was really fun, it was really cool. And then I was hearing, as I was preparing for this, I was hearing I love you. That's what I was hearing. So thought I'd just pass that on. That all is part of the message. As I start preparing and getting into the space, these messages start coming. And so all right, so we're doing botanical inspirations to start off today. This is a general reading. Take what works, leave what doesn't. And yeah. All right, you know the drill. It's for whatever time period you watch this. And I always think of it as a little cloud of time around this, whenever you find it. So we have affection and determination with morning glory. The morning glory which blooms for a day differs not at heart from the giant pine that lives for 1,000 years. And that's Alan Watts, who is one of my favorite spiritual teachers. So morning glory, that desire to live. And the morning glory, it climbs other plants, so it climbs, it's a climber. It's a climbing vine. It can be very binding and almost a weed in some situations, but this looks more like a decorative tamed morning glory. But it has that desire to grow, the desire for the sun. Affection and determination. So the desire for the sun and the desire to grow, to keep going, even though its lifespan is much shorter, even though it's a quick time. And those morning glories, they only bloom in the morning. They have their time. I guess there's something about time here, like everything having its time, be it a long time or a short time, be it morning, night. Well, let's keep going. Primrose, youthful love. Oh, wow. There's a lot about youth here, like this short time. Maybe this is a short flash in the pan. Is that how you say that? Flash in the pan. If I had a single flower for every time I think of you, I could walk forever in my garden. So, primrose, youthful love. All right, let's keep going. That's interesting because I was hearing that. I love you. Maybe a short-lived love. Maybe because it didn't last long doesn't mean that it wasn't the same. Oh, everything. Okay. All right. We have the shadow. We have, this to me always looks like revealing. Like we have a new moon coming up in a few days. So we have the new moon, we have the moon, the cycles of the moon showing up here. This always looks to me like she's pulling back a curtain, looking at what's backstage, looking at what's behind the scenes and getting a glimpse of something that normally is in the shadows, or something that's normally, backstage in life. Like a lot of what we see out here, is the presentation. It's the Instagram presentation. It's the, curated presentation. But I think that's true for all of life. Like, I don't think it's just a social media thing. I think there's a lot going on backstage in life. And I talk about that a lot, usually with the Wheel of Fortune card, about all the gears working in the background that we don't see. So this reminds me of like maybe getting a peek at behind the curtain, a peek at like what's backstage, what are the inner workings of something that normally you can't see. Normally it's in the shadow, but for a time it might be illuminated. You might, an actor might come out on stage and the curtain pulls back a little bit and you start to see the ropes and pulleys and the props that will be used later and stuff like that. So the shadow, we have koi fish. This is really funny because I was thinking about this today, actually, this morning, before I even started with this, of just going upstreamness, the koi fish, in this deck, it talks about the koi fish going upstream almost like a salmon. But when it gets to, its spot, did we get the koi fish last time or was that a personal reading? When we get to the spot, it transforms into a dragon. So there's some sort of transformational process where there's a lot of going upstream, going against the grain, going against how you feel about something, what you feel like doing, going against like expectations, but there's a reward. So sometimes this card talks to me about like a reward at the end of a difficult process, at the end of a lot of work. There is something there. It's not all this work for nothing. There is something there. So, and maybe that's a little bit of, the behind the scenes we're getting shown here is that there's a purpose to all of this work. But these cards from the botanical inspirations, from this Victorian era idea that flowers have meanings. I'd say affection and determination is showing up in this koi fish. I'm just going to put these right here front and center because I'm curious about what's happening with them. All right, and then we have Palomino and memory. Wow, this really does look like it has something to do with some sort of like a young love situation or a quick, just with memory coming up and this idea of youthful love. And it's interesting here. So we have memory, and of course our memories can change over time. Sometimes we pull, and it's hard and frustrating truth to understand that when every time we pull up a memory, we touch it, we get our little, whatever mood we're in that day, why we ever even touch that memory that day, that all gets fingerprints all over that memory. So with the passage of time, the memory gets, I want to say greasy. There's fingerprints all over it, and it loses some clarity because it feeds into a story. It can feed into a story, either one that builds us up or one that we want, one that we love. It can feed into a fantasy, but it can also feed into, like, if it tells a story of like we're a victim, we were wounded, we were hurt, we were used and discarded. Like if there could be a memory that feeds into that. So there might be aspects of this memory that you don't remember correctly because the memory comes up in service of a story that you may have, in service of a narrative that you've built about your life. And this narrative, possibly about some sort of like young love or a quick crush or something like that. And the story that you have about that you may have put it into service in something. And for some reason, it's reminding me, it goes with this shadow card, I think. I feel it goes with a shadow card. And there might be something being revealed about that memory this week. Some sort of other view of it, right? We were talking with the shadow card about the stage, about what you normally see with a memory, how you normally play that memory. And this week you might be getting additional information for those memories that you're working with and you're processing. You might be getting a peek behind what else was going on, right? Because we're only seeing our part in someone else's life. We don't always see what's going on behind the scenes, behind what we're seeing. So that would be behind our scenes. Behind our scenes, as in SEENS. There's a little bit of a homonym play here. Scenes and scenes. SEENE and SEENS. So behind what we've seen, behind the scenes, there's this unseen aspect to a memory that you hold. There's something about it, and it may be from, regarding young love. And that may have been persistent, a persistent memory of this. And it looks like there might be work to be done with this. All right, and then we have Palomino. So this card always represents a person to me. The concept behind the card is work hard, play hard. But this also looks like a little bit of a stud muffin. Like it looks like this horse needs to be on the cover of a romance novel, like about horses. Not to get too weird about it, but it just looks like the Fabio of horses, basically. So there may be a little bit of a stud muffin in your past coming out here. I don't know if the whole reading's going to be about this, but yeah. But then also, okay, we can look at it a different way. The work hard, play hard. This is all work, but then there's this work hard, play hard energy here. After the work, there might be play, but we do have that affection and determination. So I wonder, like, is there another topic coming out here? We'll see. We'll be open to whatever these cards want to talk to us about. And then I'm looking at the Moonology and Workulite Magic Mega Deck that I put together, mostly because of the same size of cards, but they do seem to work well together. Oh, okay. So if you have a yes or no question, formulate that appropriately now, and we'll get to the that. So I'm just going to read these in the order in which they came out. We have Akasha. So this is about destiny. This is about higher guidance. But it says your guidance is divinely guided. So that can come across as two ways. So we can have that is currently being erased from we're rewriting that. Okay, there's like Akashic Records stuff here. So there is a destiny at work. And as I was saying, we're rewriting that. It may feel to you that a destiny is being rewritten. It may feel to you that a memory is being rewritten. It may feel to you that your path is being rewritten. But it actually has brought you here. It looks really different to you. There was maybe a vision you had a long time ago. There's maybe a vision you had, I want to say in a darker time. And as you arrive somewhere, there's like just this demarcation of your destiny, but it's like as you've gotten closer to it, you've seen it out the window. You've seen something, and you are on your divine path. There is no mistake here. And it's not that path never changes. It's not that you know exactly where you're going, but in a sense, right now, in this moment, there is a sense where you know exactly where you're going. You can feel it. And maybe as you arrive somewhere, you have the deja vu moment of knowing that you dreamt about this, or knowing that you saw this, or knowing that you knew this. And there's just like a very strong sense of mystery and mysticism about it. A riddle, perhaps. Something might feel like a riddle. And there are options. That you're not, just because it feels like destined doesn't mean that there aren't options. There are options. There are other doors you can go through. So, but this one just so resonates and calls you, it just seems really obvious to you. But there is a sense, though, that there are these other doors, and there were other ways this could play out. There are other ways this could play out. Okay. So, and then normally the Akashic records, or the Akasha, I mean, there's like a different level of looking at things, I think I'm seeing here too. A different way of looking at something is really resonating with the shadow card too, as far as like seeing something, seeing behind a curtain somewhere, seeing some sort of mystery here, and navigating a mystery because there's a sense of having been here before or knowing. So then the Akashic Records idea here, your guidance is divinely guided. There may be, and there usually will be, something in this tarot reading that does not make any sense to you right now. But as the moment arrives, or as you arrive to the moment, for some reason that feels like a distinction. As you arrive to the moment, you will understand something. All right. So work through your fears. New moon in Scorpio. This is funny because this dovetails with our to-do list from last week, that working through your fears. So we're still working on that. We're still examining our anxiety. This is an unknown territory that we're going into. This is totally unknown. And we've got maybe some defensiveness about how unknown this is, which makes sense. Like the unknown could contain anything. But again, it can be a little bit of that memory of like choosing how to look at the future. So the memory card, maybe there are some parallels between like how we pull up these memories and why we pull up these memories, and how we pull up and when and what kind of mood we're in when we pull up these memories, and how our mood or how we use the memory to build the narrative of our life, how that affects us and affects how we remember things, and where they're sorted at in our sort of filing system in our brain of like, oh, massive failures file. Ah, yes, this memory is in the massive failures file. Maybe though that's been misfiled. Maybe that memory shouldn't go in the massive failures filed, but maybe it goes into valuable lessons learned file. Or how about we refile it under really pleasant experiences that were also very brief, and not necessarily failures, but just they were always meant to be brief, pleasant experiences. So this card is telling me that there's also a way to do that with our future. This card with the Akasha card is telling me that there's also a way to do that with our future, with thinking of our dreams and what we want to accomplish, or maybe even our fears, or about what could happen to us. So we can go through the file of our dreams or our visions for the future, what we think is going to happen. Ooh, the death of someone I love. We all have that. We're all facing that at some point. The death of someone I love. And that's filed under, I don't know, but let's just say we have filed this understanding that this is going to happen under like unmitigated disaster. So in my future, there is unmitigated disaster file. Oh, and look, here we have. But maybe it could be like a beautiful passing file. Maybe it could be like a beautiful moment file. Maybe it could be like things I was really happy I was able to be present for file. Like, so I'm seeing this as like maybe refiling some of our visions for the future. And I see that with the Akashic records too. So don't let your past hold you back. Oh, that's fascinating. With this memory and memory filing. So don't let South Node. You're moving away from something, and maybe even a whole filing system that you have for your memories, and maybe even a whole filing system that you have for your future too. Like there's something that you're moving away from. So if you haven't yet done your North Node South Work astrological research, to me that was some of the most powerful research, because partly because my North Node South Node stuff is just the most dramatic. It's very dramatic. It goes from Taurus to Scorpio. And that's a pretty dramatic shift. So, this, don't let your past hold you back. There's something, just because you've always done it this way, just because you've always touched that memory in that way, just because you've always filed it that way, doesn't mean you have to keep filing it like that. Like, get a different file system. Maybe you have misfiled some memories. So don't let your past hold you back, South Node. Just because it's always been that memory's always looked like that. That doesn't mean you have to get stuck there. That doesn't mean it always has to be that way. And there is a sense here, obviously, I think, just to very clearly state, of memory and future both combining in our interpretations of that and how we're dealing with that. And this card just really highlights that there's something about how you remember something or remembering something and how that's relating to the future. So don't let your past hold you back. And Lemuria, creating heaven on earth, it is happening. So this, again, this talks to me about this Akashic record idea of this, like in a way entering heaven right here, right? She's gone from this like black and white existence to this very colorful, option filled, beautiful hall of dreams. And there's always this shifting sand. So nothing here is permanent. Nothing here is necessarily has to be exactly like this way. There's a lot of movement here. And there's a way in which you're walking very confidently through some shifting sands and some unstable, what would otherwise be unstable, but the way you're walking on it, it doesn't matter whether the ground is stable or unstable. You are moving forward, you are walking, and your footsteps are guided and sure and certain, and the ground will do, the sand, the concrete, the steps, the river, whatever it's going to do is what it's going to do, and you're going to keep walking. So Lemuria, creating heaven on earth, it's happening. So something that you've prepared for and you've worked towards, and maybe some memories of how things have gone in the past are triggering these fears about what the future looks like. But this is very good. This is something that you're working towards. You have been working towards. You have been creating this, and it is happening. There's not. Don't doubt that the future is beautiful. And I think these two are working together. Don't doubt. Just because something wasn't successful in the past has no bearing on what your future holds whatsoever. So, ready with your yes or no question? Yes, 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 yes. And to me, this is going with like, yes, yes, it is happening. Yes, you, in a way, have arrived in some place much more beautiful than you imagined. That's what I'm getting. I mean, not to oversell the week here, like, but maybe it's a bigger storyline than just the week. I'm going to shuffle these one more time. But yes, this week you will enter heaven. It will be beautiful. Nirvana awaits you this week. Seems a little extreme, but maybe it's a moment, right? We got the morning glory. Maybe it's a day. Maybe it's a day of Nirvana. All right, so the bottom of the deck overall for the reading. This is just so fun. We have 3 of Cups, a party, a get-together, a celebration. I'm hearing like everybody raise a glass, raise it up the master's ass. What is that from? Is that from? It's a musical. I used to listen to it when I was a teenager, a lot. Les Mis? No. Yes? I don't know. Anyway, everybody raise a glass. Raise it up the master's ass. I love this. This is a celebration and a party. It sounds good. Maybe it has to do with work too. Past, present, inner landscape. What's at issue? Environment, to-do list, possible outcome. Oh my gosh, you guys. You're never going to believe what just came out here. I'm so glad I did one last shuffle, or, you know, because I don't know. I did my scientifically proven 7 shuffles, and then I don't know. I just am wanting to do that more lately. So in the past, guess what we have in the past? Okay, I just want to let's review really quick before we get to this. Don't let your past hold you back. Youthful love and morning glory. So it seems like maybe something very fleeting here, but here in the past we have the card of the past, 6 of Cups. And so what is this double past? It's like Back to the Future. It's like a reunion of the past. Like we already revisited this past. This is not the first time we've revisited. And then with memory too. This is wild. With memory, and don't let your past hold you back. And then in the past, we have the past. So you've already addressed this past before. You've already reconnected with this person before. If it's a person, I mean, we do have one person on the table with this Palomino already. So there was connection, there was reconnection, there was this gifting, this childhood memory. There was this childhood memory. This is this youthful love. This is the primrose. This is right here. And then we have these bouquets, right? We were already talking about these Victorian bouquets. And then we have these sort of, I guess, more medieval kids right here with a bouquet. There's something about flowers too, because do I ever use this deck with these journal readings? No, in the personal, like, love readings, yeah. I might reuse it, but for these, not usually. So we have a bouquet, we have flowers. This has something to do with flowers. And here we have the empty cups, right? Well, they probably have a little alcohol in them. And then here we have they're the same cups, but here they're full of flowers and here they're part of a celebration. So they're full of flowers here, these cups, these 6 cups full of flowers. And we already, there's bouquets something, there's flowers something back here. And it's always so funny, like, there's this card in this Wild Waite Smith deck. We have the, you know, are these children? Is this an elderly woman? Is this a giant and an elderly woman? Like, are these children here? But why does this child have white hair? Well, I mean, it does happen from time to time. And then we have this, like, guarded area. So in a way that does seem like, but it's not a separation card. It's like integrated into your life. But there is like a garden or a guarded area or a courtyard. There's a courtyard involved here and some flowers, and it's the card of the past. But the current situation, wow, we got kicked out of Eden real fast here. We have 5 of Pentacles. This is like impoverished, lack mentality, which could be coming up right here. We have lack mentality, impoverishedness. We have, and we feel like an outsider. We feel like we've been kicked out of Eden, and we feel quite sorry for ourselves. There is a sense of being left out. There is difficulty moving forward from this loss. There is a compare and contrast. Oh yeah, you know, you are in contrast a bit, like looking at what you don't want. It's always like a mentality. It can be both just very real impoverishedness, real, really being left out, really being removed from the party, not being invited to the party. There might be a way in which you were not invited to the party, but there's a sense of being left out here. And that can come internally and externally, like focusing on, right, with the memory and how you look at the memory, focusing on feeling left out, focusing on what you don't have, focusing on what you haven't, what everybody else seems to have, right? We were talking earlier about that Instagram image, what everyone else seems to have, but you don't. Like they're outside of the church, they're outside of the community. So there's a sense of being left out, being uninvited, but there's also a sense of they could go in. Someone getting cold feet. There's someone getting cold feet here. But I'm sensing more of an actual event in which you were actually left out or forgotten, or at least that's your perception of the situation. Left out, forgotten, abandoned, lack mentality, what you don't have, looking at what you don't have. And sometimes it's an important assessment to look at what you don't have. How do you know what you want unless you see that you don't have it, right? Oh, I would like this. Well, that means I don't have it. So, you know, yeah, there is something about like the movement. And I want to talk about, there's a Thich Nhat Hanh quote about step by step. We will go step by step. And some of these steps are very, we will not run, we will not rush. We will go step by step, hand in hand, something like that. I'm butchering the quote completely, but that's what I'm seeing here is some painful steps. Some painful steps. And they have to do with cold feet. They have to do with exclusion, abandonment. In your hopes, fears, your inner landscape, we have 2 of Wands. You're trying to be very practical about something, which, you know, like we were saying, like this, you know, you got to look at what you don't have. You know, in order to create a budget, you have to look at the money you have, and you have to also have to look at the money you don't have to spend on things. You know, there is a moment, we can't live there, but it's wise to pay attention to that stuff occasionally. So 2 of Wands, this is practical. This is your subconscious or your desires. You're wanting to be very practical. There's like something that's very alive, that's very moving, that's maybe passionate, but the 2 here takes us out of the suit. It's like the Wands are passionate, creative, but the 2 sometimes takes us out of that, whatever suit we're in, except for with Cups. But whatever suit we're in, it's like 2 steps forward, passion, all of that, 2 steps forward, and then we take 1 step forward, and then we kind of take 2 steps back. Okay, I have this passionate idea, but you know what? I'm going to be very practical. I really want to think about where I plant these. Look, they're my passions, and I want to make sure I plant them just right, you know, and I want to safeguard them, and I want to be careful with them, and I want to look at the future, look at the possibilities, and be extremely practical about what I might be. So you're having this desire to be very, very practical, like really look at this, this lack, and you're wanting to be practical about a situation. You're not necessarily trusting your intuition, you know, and there are times to rely on our intuition, and there are times to, well, your intuition is the guide, right? But there are times when our intuition might lead us to be very practical. So you're trying to be very practical about a situation and really assess what you have, what you don't have, where it is, where it needs to be, where it needs to go, what needs to happen. So he's looking at the world, and he's just being, yeah, this is the world, and we need to be very practical with it. So there's something here where you're trying to be practical. And I see that these flowers over here have been memorialized in sort of, I don't want to, yeah, it's like a tombstone, or like, it's not a tombstone, but it's reading as one right now. This looks like a place in a graveyard near my home where you can stand out, and there's this sort of memorial sort of balcony over the river, and you stand out there. So that's what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing sort of a memorial to this past that was already once revisited again in the past. So then what's the issue here? 5 of Wands reversed. So this can come out 2 ways. It can be like an actual physical fight, a physical disagreement. So that's in the literature. That's in this literature for the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, that reversal of this card. Because this is like a contest of wills, a little bit of like competition, some, you know, metaphorical elbows being thrown on the outskirts of town. We're having a little skirmish. It's often about ideas and competing passions. But in the reverse, we can actually get into like a physical altercation here, which, like, be left out of that. Thank you. I don't need to be part of that. But it can also be like tamped down conflict, suppressed conflict. So that's a little bit of what I'm feeling, and seems more realistic. But maybe for some of you, you are going to get into like throwing hands this week, but hopefully not. But if you do, tell me, because that sounds way more exciting than anything that goes on in my life. So, I mean, yeah, as long as it's not, you know, with family. But it sounds like, so yeah, keep me updated on that. But it also could be very suppressed conflict. Or behind the scenes conflict, because we do have that shadow. So behind the scenes conflict. Everyone's got their opinion. Everyone's got the way they want things to go. Everyone's got their tactics for achieving that. So we all, in any kind of conflict, every party in that conflict has a lot going on. Every party is going to have different motivations. Every party is going to have different tactics that they learned or are more well suited to their personalities or whatever in order to come and get what they believe that they need. Yeah, everyone else also believes, you know, their needs are very important. Yeah, in order to get what they believe they need. And that seems to be really important, what they believe they need. So there may have not been very much open conflict about that, but that doesn't mean that people aren't still jockeying for what they believe they need using the tools they believe are necessary. So what's that issue here? The devil. No, in your environment, you have the devil. So unfortunately, it is Capricorn energy. But there is, sorry, Capricorns, you guys got the devil. But there is like contracts. Contracts that aren't easy to get out of. Something that was easy to get into is very difficult to get out of. Yeah, there's contracts at play here, and they can be great. I mean, you know, sometimes contracts are really wonderful. It always reminds me of marriage, but that could just be my own perspective on that. But just like, because it is the contract card, right? It is like easy to get into, but very difficult to get out of. Easy to sign the papers. There's only one signature required on the paper to get married, and there's about 100 pages plus supporting documents and about 20 signatures to get divorced. So easy to get into, difficult to get out of. But they could get out. You can get out of it. It just takes effort. That's all. So, so there could be some effort involved in freeing yourself from a situation. There could be someone here who is a little more difficult to work with, difficult to separate yourself from, difficult to free yourself from. You could just be having to look at nitty-gritties of contracts and root chakra stuff. Yeah, I mean, now that I'm looking at it, there's some root chakra stuff around here going on about value, worth. I almost see like the chakras as like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and this is like basic needs, and we were already talking about needs. Some basic needs to stay alive, and there's some kind of contract involving that. Maybe you made a contract in the past here, and it's at play here. Or there could be a Capricorn in your environment. There could be someone else dealing with a contract or dealing with addiction. This can be addictions. There could be someone else dealing with addiction here too. Because addictions, right? So fun to have a drink after work. So fun to do it again. So fun to do it, you know, a couple times a week. So fun to do it. And then, you know, easy to get into, really hard to get out of. In fact, you don't ever fully get out of it. It's always part of you. And, you know, it gets wired in, and it's, you know, a daily practice to deal with this devil. So, and then your to-do list, same to-do list as last week. That's what's so fascinating here. That was the second thing. This thing blew my mind right here, the past of the past. And then this one also blew my mind, that this would be in the exact same position. So either we didn't do no, I think we did a good job, but there's more. But wait, there's more. And work through your fears. Oh, you thought you worked through your fears already? But wait, there's more. And that's your to-do list, is working with those fears, right? And then what's interesting too is that, like, look at the back of this card and look at the quilt. It's a very similar design. I'm not going to say it's the same, but it is very similar. The quilt actually has all the zodiac signs. So it's making me wonder if we're all dealing with anxiety. It's hard not to have anxiety. I'm always amazed that people, are there people that have none? Wow. Those are the people we should be studying. How do you navigate this place without anxiety? How do you navigate this place and everything that's already happened, all these memories, all these things that have already happened, without having them come up into each situation and affect how you approach your future as well, right? So dealing with these anxieties, looking at them, inspecting them. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's a bunch of different ways. You can do like some tapping. You can do, but this to me looks like really looking at them. You're safe in your bed. You're physically, things are fine, but there's a lot of fears, and they're based on something. They're based on these memories. They're based on what's gone on in the past. They're not baseless, completely like out of the blue random stuff. It's here. These fears, you earned them in a way, is what I'm seeing with the memory and all of that in the shadow. You earned these fears, you earned this anxiety, but you don't deserve to keep carrying it forward. It's been a long time, so you don't deserve to keep carrying these fears and these anxieties forever and ever and ever. We can shift, like this Akashic record idea. We can shift where we're going. We can shift, and we can move out of sort of black and white thinking. Maybe we can move out of the past and the shadows of the past. We can move forward. How long are these things from our past going to be affecting us? So, is 10 years enough to have the past be a shadow that's cast over your life? Is 20 years enough? Have you punished yourself enough? Have you dealt with this enough? 30 years? How long is the past going to haunt you? So, and create this anxiety about the future. So looking into that. And anxiety about lack. So this could actually be really real too. Anxiety about lacking funds, anxiety about maybe why you were left out of something. There are real triggers for anxiety. I was trying to say that earlier. None of these anxieties are like totally random, but we can deal with them, and we can find good ways to deal with them, even though they may be rooted in actual things and events that are happening and have happened. So then strength card, stick with it. Don't quit. Don't give up, especially if you're dealing with an addiction issue or something like that, or, this takes a lot of strength. To get out of. These chains look heavy. They're removable, but they are heavy. So stick with something. Don't quit. Don't give up. Staying strong. I want to get one more card on the strength card. I'm actually going to cut the deck here, pull a card out of the center. Okay. Be patient. Stay strong and be patient. What are we being patient with? Maybe just ourselves again. But we have maybe a lot of work to do. So stay strong and be patient and wait. Don't quit. These are both don't quit. With this card, this is like debating whether you hold them or fold them. And this card is don't quit. So this is like hold them. Don't fold them. Don't quit on something. And this is like trying to be very practical. And maybe the practical choice would be to quit something. And this is do not quit that thing. Deal with your feelings about it, but don't quit. All right. Let's get a little card from this deck here. These swords, maybe things that people have said to you in the past, things you've said in the past. Like, what are you afraid of? Really get it out in the open. Don't let it just sit there in the dark and be something that comes up when you're tired and your inhibitions are down and you're, it comes up when your guard is down. All right. Dear Spirit, I love these two cards. Bring a gentle touch. So, especially for yourself, this is just still dealing with some stuff. So, from your past, and bring a gentle touch, especially if you have someone from just everybody, you, yourself, your future, everybody from the past, everybody, just bring a gentle touch this week. And then one of my favorite cards, Scarab, beetle spirit. Magic works through you. You don't know. And this has to do with Akashic records as well. As far as like your guidance is divinely guided. You may be giving guidance and you have no idea what effect that's going to have. So the Scarab, beetle, renewal. Magic works through you. This also has to do with the Akashic records as well. Just the Sphinx is here and the Scarab beetle being so important to ancient Egypt. And so magic works through you. So you are the surprise, perhaps. All right, and then one more little prayer. The thing about YouTube videos is like, you can click off whenever you want. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You can pause, come back tomorrow, next week. So if it gets long, you can break it up into little shorter bits. So this one I love. This is like you sort of innocently stepping into something and your guardians being like, okay, you just do you, because magic works through you. So you're just going to step into something on your path. Divinely guided, Akashic records right here. You're just going to step into something and you've got guides looking out for you. So it's like there seems to me to be like a very innocent thing that you're doing that you don't know that you're doing. And it's a little bit magical and it's open-ended. No one knows how it's going to go, but I don't think you're aware. I don't know, these cards never give me like intuitive messages. I just think they're beautiful pictures and then I read them, but I'm getting an intuitive message that you step into something, it's divinely guided. You were meant to be doing this and not to worry about it because, although you want to worry about it, not to worry about it because you are being looked after. You are being guided. You are being, you may not know to look both ways, but your spirit team does, let's call it that. Child's play. Conscious play creates energy. It allows us to enjoy the discipline that helps us feel safe, productive, and that we are making progress on our path. It opens us up to life and increases our vitality and creativity. Without it, discipline and hard work can wear away at our life force. Oh, we've got work hard, play hard, Palomino here. When balanced with loving and healthy discipline, there is no need to fear it. It can only bring benefit. So play. And then we have this whole thing is about play, is about some sort of party, is about some sort of get together, is about some sort of fun little event. And yeah, you're doing a lot of inner work. So don't forget to do a lot of inner play, I guess. And then this is all about, right? A gathering, a party, a celebration, friends, friendships. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me on these. I very much appreciate it. In fact, I was thinking about how much I appreciate it because without you guys watching and liking and subscribing from time to time, it makes this more meaningful for me. Like I love doing this. I'd be doing it anyway, but it really like it makes it very much more meaningful for me. And yeah, I feel like, yeah, I'm just really grateful that you guys watch these and thank you. All right, well, we'll see you later. Bye.